So the enforcement aspect with DeSantis, for example, is that for one, he took the teeth out of local governments from being able to enforce this on businesses. And partly, because a lot of the penalties on business go through Florida boards, the way that that oversee the business side of licenses and things like that. They got rid of any of those things on like the school board issue when you had school boards violating the governor's order on mask mandates for students. They clawed back funds that would go to the salaries of school board members and superintendents. It's kind of like the stick there. And so, those are, and then the most recent thing is I think it's now $5,000 fines on private businesses that require something resembling a vaccine mandate from customers. With the executive order, though, they're using fines, as the penalty enforcement mechanism there. And so I think ultimately the best you're going to see, the way that you're going to have to fight this is not something, mandates are bad. I think that you're going to see the most effective ways being explicit bans on private actors requiring this from employees, and really, the way that I've seen it, and I know a guest that you've had in the past, Jeff Shipley from Iowa, he was the first one that kind of really helped me really kind of focus this from a civil rights angle in a way that I found very compelling, because like ultimately that is, that's something that has come up with a lot of libertarians, is that libertarians will fall back on private property arguments, pushing back against anything like this. And I'm very sympathetic to it. I would love to live in a regime that respects private property rights. And all of these are obviously violations of property rights. The Biden mandate is a violation of property rights, but we live in a regime that regularly violates property rights in the most obscene ways possible if they want to. And so within the civil rights environment, which is what we have to recognize that failure to wield civil rights approaches protecting individual rights of political dissidents, which you can use to define however, whoever is on the outside of the power group, if you do not defend their rights using these civil rights, then what you do is you create an environment where the only people that are allowed to be discriminated against are those dissidents. And so I think that given the realities of the society and the foundations legally that we have here, that is we need to recognize that this is a problem. This is a bad thing. And what the proper solution to this can vary. I'm not saying that, I've never made the argument that everyone should just, parrot whatever DeSantis does and everything. I think that prior, for example, to this mandate, and this mandate perhaps helps highlight, I think, an aspect of this that is relevant. It's the difference between what a small business owner does and what a large corporation does.
Yes.
Because like these sort of, when you have a large nationwide chain, this goes to the managerial stuff, like, these are bureaucratic nationwide policies being taken out of any sort of judgment by the regional director here, or the franchisee owner, or, these things where they actually take into account, the actual people working, that aspect of it. The way I think that there is something to be said about the, for example, in Florida, if they simply gave a waiver for small businesses and treated them, okay, well, you're a small business owner, you enforced your whatever rules you want, because I think that we can recognize is a little bit different than the attempt of utilizing some of the centralized corporate forces to push this nationally. And so to the degree to which we have other states out there wanting to play around with some different models, I think great. But ultimately, though, and I think Republicans across the board are recognizing this, you can't simply state your opposition to this and expect it to go away. You can't simply depend upon the court system to deal with this and expect it to go away. It is going to require some action at that state level, challenging the monopoly of the federal regime.
Yes.
And again, these are all reasons to be optimistic about the political trajectory on the right, and in spite of how dire the times are right now.